G'day guys and gal, yes, I am making the Arks of Omen video. Stop harassing me about it. I held back until now because not all the Arks of Omen books were out until now. How do you make a lore video without the actual lore being released? Please tell me, I would really love to know, it would give me a massive edge. Chaos is a bitch that keeps coming back for more every time you spank it. It creates this pendulum effect, where whenever Chaos does something big and scary, the Imperium responds by bringing back a Primarch. Guilliman returned as a result of the fall of Cadia, and this time is no different. Chaos goes on a successful Easter egg hunt, and then the line wakes up to deliver the Nick Cage slap of God to the forces of hell. But what actually are the Arks of Omen, and how is Abaddon, Angron, Farsight, Vashtor, and the line involved? Watch the video to find out. Before we get started, a common issue us blokes have when it comes to buying gifts for people is that we don't really know what we are doing, so we either end up spending a lot of money or a lot of time finding a thoughtful gift. Or just a crap gift that no one really wants. It's one of those unspoken struggles in life, on the same level as Lyme's disease. But don't worry kiddo, Daddy Majorkill is here to save the day by partnering up with Under Lucky Stars to show you guys the best gift for the best value you can get. Under Lucky Stars will generate a customizable and totally unique star map of a special occasion for you and whoever you're giving it to. Maybe it's a first date, maybe it's when you proposed, or maybe it's your mother's birthday. You don't have to give it to your girlfriend. After all, it'd probably be a waste of time promoting a girlfriend exclusive gift to a bunch of Warhammer fans. I mean, I personally gave mine to my girlfriend, but that's besides the point. Under Lucky Stars has been reviewed by Neil deGrasse Tyson as well as a NASA engineer, so you don't need to stress about how legit it is. So to get 10% off your order, then use my link below. Cheers to Under Lucky Stars for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over the entire lore of all 5 Arks of Omen books, catching everyone up to speed on the current situation within the galaxy. I'll also spend some time detailing what an Ark of Omen actually is. Let's get into it. In recent times, Chaos and the Imperium have entered into a bit of a stalemate. Sure, Abaddon cut the galaxy in half and turned the lights off for half the Imperium, but Guilliman's resurrection, followed by the Primaris Marines and Indomitus Crusade, managed to smash Chaos back and even the odds. However, with Mortarion attacking Ultramar, the Silent King reappearing and going insano style, as well as the ever-present threat of the Orcs and the Tyranids, the Indomitus Crusade was forced to move into the defense and conciliation rather than conquering and retaking. Our story begins around Vigilus, which is the planet that guards/controls the only stable route that cuts through the Great Rift and connects the Imperium Sanctus to the Imperium Nihilus. Sanctus being the retaken side that can see the Astronomicon, and Nihilus is the dark side where shit sucks megaballs all the time. However, the Imperium doesn't want to abandon Nihilus, so obviously having control of the stable route through is pretty important. Abaddon has been trying to conquer Vigilus, but got outplayed and is now with his ship, the Vengeful Spirit, as it undergoes repairs, thus giving us our stalemate. Seeing this and wanting to add some spice to the mix, Vashtor the Archifane, Lord of the Soulforge, decided he would take a direct role in the galaxy's affairs by subtly manipulating numerous events and coincidences that resulted in him being summoned to Abaddon in real space. Now Vashtor is a new character, but the Soulforge has been a thing for a long time in the lore, so it's not just GW pulling shit out of their ass like what happened with the Leagues of Votan. In Total War Warhammer, Be'lakor is the master of the Soulforge, whilst Vashtor is the master in 40k. He's not a demon or demon prince, but he's also not a mortal, more like a chaos demigod who has ambitions to ascend to become a 5th chaos god. He's in a pretty strong position to do so, as the Soulforge does not fall under the control of any of the chaos gods. It's the place where soul grinders are created, as well as other chaos superweapons. Vashtor is like the fucking arms dealer of chaos. If any one chaos god tries to take control of the Soulforge, the other 3 and Vashtor will unite to stop them, as it would unbalance the great game too much. All soul grinders are also bound to defend the Soulforge as one of the terms of their agreement with Vashtor, even if that means fighting against their own god. To become a god and create a super mega weapon for chaos, Vashtor required a key that was fragmented and scattered across the galaxy in various places. Abaddon was like, well, come here, suck my balls, because Abaddon is a bit of a fuckwit. So Vashtor was like, alright fuckhead, come with me, I'll show you how OP I am and how much of an asset I can be to your cause. So they went to a world called Magdalor, sodomized the shit out of the loyalist Space Marine chapter that lived there, and they recovered the first fragment, a floating pillar. Vashtor more than proved his power during the battle, and he explained his plan more to Abaddon. Abaddon was like, Alright, cool, yeah, mad. And they officially teamed up. In order to be able to strike out and recover the fragments all at once, since they knew that by collecting them with a massive fleet one by one would alert the galaxy to their plan and could cause more complications too early, they decided they needed to create mega ships, the Arks of Omen. To do so, they pulled numerous space hulks out of the warp, purged them of gene stealers and orcs, and then Vashtor modified and corrupted them to become mobile galactic star fortresses, kinda like the Phalanx but not as good. Each Ark was given to a Chaos Champion and his warband, with Abaddon telling them that if they were to collect a fragment and then teleport it to him, they would be able to keep the Ark afterwards and do whatever the fuck they wanted. Pretty sweet deal. Vashtor was able to convert 12 Arks of Omen for the first wave that were then sent across the galaxy at different key fragment sites. Then he began work on the next wave. Vashtor knew which worlds had fragments on it as he was able to sense their warp signatures. The Ark smashed into different war zones and conflicts, taking on the Necrons on their tomb worlds, Tyranid hive fleets, Eldar, and even the Leagues of Votann. Some Arks completed their mission and recovered a fragment. Other Arks were boarded and purged by Imperial or Eldar forces before then being destroyed. The idea of spamming the Arks was because many of them would fail. The Eldar were able to see a pattern and understand Abaddon's intent. Thus they warned the Inquisition, so the Imperium began taking the Arks more seriously. It's basically stated that the Arks engaged pretty much every faction and sub-faction at some point, making all of the Arks of Omen boarding action campaign games lore-friendly. It was pretty hectic. One Ark was even destroyed by a mysterious force. The line. At a similar time, Angron had returned to real space aboard his flagship, the Conqueror, and was engaging Indomitor's fleet Quartus, one of the largest Imperial fleets in the galaxy. So the Imperium had discovered an ancient Xeno device called the Coral Engine that acted as a mini Astronomicon in Imperial Nihilus. It was a massive asset to the Imperials, but it gave Chaos a headache. And Angron hates headaches, so he attacked the world it was on. The Imperials knew Angron was coming, so prepared a fuck-off massive defense. The battle was gearing up to be epic, and it was. Abaddon had sent an Ark and a Chaos fleet to back up Angron's forces, and together, shit hit the fan. Boarding actions, void battles, the whole shebang. A fuckload of people died, it was so awesome. Eventually Angron is able to push through the Imperial fleet and land on the world, and boy does he finally get done justice. He one-man armies his way through the Imperial defenders, killing everything and everyone in his path. He also managed to summon 8 bloodthirsters to his side, which obviously helps. As he was about to reach the engine, the Imperials released the final failsafes on it, making it go turbo mode, which blasted Angron in the face, banishing most of his demon army. But Angron didn't give a fuck. Well, he did, it hurt a lot, but he came back, fought through a bunch of elite Grey Knights, and finally managed to smack the engine so hard that it exploded. The explosion vaporized Angron, his bloodthirsters, and everyone else in the area, before then blowing the planet in two and unleashing a Khornite shockwave across the entire system. The blowback from the engine combined with the raw power of Khorne caused the murder curse to manifest. Pretty much the entirety of Indomitor's fleet Quartus fell to Khorne. Sisters of Battle, Primaris, Priests, Inquisitors. The only people unaffected were the Custodes, Grey Knights, and Sisters of Silence, but it didn't matter much as they were now surrounded by hostile berserkers. I hope a few of them got to safety. I always get sad when Custodes die. This was a massive win for Chaos. Imperium Nihilus just lost its lighthouse, the Indomitus Crusade lost one of its main wings to Chaos, Vashtor recovered the key fragment on the world with the Coral Engine, and now Angron was back with some super hacks. The biggest is that whenever Angron is killed at massive effort, he is now able to materialize within like 8 weeks or something. Usually it takes 1,000 years. It's made pretty clear that Angron is being jerked off hard by Khorne, with the Blood God investing a lot into Angron. Khorne is currently winning the Great Game, as a result of corrupting Indomitor's fleet Quartus and destroying the Coral Engine. The next key fragment Vashtor wanted was on the Rock, the Dark Angel's flagship. After some careful planning as well as calling in some favors, Vashtor was able to catch the Dark Angel's fleet with their pants down and ambush them with an Ark of Omen and a Chaos Armada. Once again, a lot of boarding actions took place because, you know, lore gotta reflect the game and whatnot. Vashtor and his forces get aboard the Rock and begin pushing their way to its heart, where his prize lay. The Dark Angels are putting up a valiant defense, and Vashtor realizes that he won't actually be able to beat the chapter and take the Rock, but he can still recover the fragment. Azrael and Vashtor engage in combat, and it becomes pretty obvious that Vashtor will win. After all, it's a massive demon demigod versus Space Marine. However, before the duel can be concluded, Be'lakor comes out of fucking nowhere at the head of a huge Chaos army and begins attacking Vashtor's forces. Vashtor and Be'lakor are sworn enemies and rivals, as both of them want to become the 5th Chaos God. Hence Be'lakor is literally here just to fuck with Vashtor's plans. What a Chad. The two demigod demons duel, with Vashtor getting the upper hand, but then a massive Imperial reinforcement fleet arrives, led by the Ultramarines, that finally drives off Vashtor and the rest of the demons, enraging the Archifane as he was unable to claim the fragment. Then there is a bit of a random side quest involving the Tau legend Commander Farsight. See, one of the main fragments, as different key fragments have different levels of importance, was near the Farsight enclaves, where the enclaves and the Orcs were currently at war. Farsight was winning, able to outplay the Orcs and push them back to an Orc world. Then an Ark of Omen and a fuck-off huge Chaos fleet arrives once again. Farsight was like, bruh, I can't fight two at once, but I could trick them into fighting each other. So he baits both forces to Arthas Moloch, an unpopulated world where he first discovered his legendary sword. But due to some Alpha Legion 4D chess, this was all planned, as the forces of Chaos wanted Farsight to help them find the fragment on Moloch for them by accident. As the Tau tried to lure both forces together, Farsight's men discovered the fragment, but didn't know what it was. However, monitoring their communications, the Alpha Legion swung in, took the fragment, and then got out of there just as Farsight's plan finally worked, and the Tau, Orcs, and Chaos entered into a three-way battle that became a four-way battle when Farsight managed to unleash a bunch of Khornite demons. Farsight was happy to just fight to the death, his rage consuming him, but then he was like, nah, fuck this, and evacuated his forces. Following his departure, the Orcs actually won, banishing the Khornite demons and fighting off the Chaos army. They even managed to purge Arthas Moloch of chaotic taint, so a bit of an Orc victory there, which is always nice to see. Overall, a bit of a filler book that resulted in Chaos claiming another fragment. Now onto the part that people actually care about, the Lion's Return. The Blood Angels had been investigating strange warp anomalies across Imperium Nihilus. These warp anomalies were actually the Lion appearing at the head of a host of redeemed fallen, as they would aid the loyal men and women of the Imperium. The Lion had been awake for a little while now, his awakening not yet been super clear, and he had gained the ability to more or less teleport via warp power. So he was able to do short-range teleports across Imperium Nihilus, but due to the Great Rift, wasn't able to get to Imperium Sanctus. The Blood Angels were able to eventually track the Lion and his redeemed down, and take him aboard their ship. As I've talked about before, not all the Fallen had the same agenda. Some were loyal to the Imperium but not the Lion, some were loyal to Luther but not Chaos, some were just loyal to Chaos, most of them weren't corrupted by Chaos and were just tricked or misled, hence they were able to return to the Lion's banner and redeem themselves. Meanwhile, the Dark Angels chapter is furious with Vashtor for his attack on the rock. They have no clue the Lion is back at this point. They are able to discover Vashtor's location after interrogating some captured enemies, and they gather as many Dark Angel successor chapters as they can for the attack. They know it's probably a trap, but they have so many Dark Angels, like literally legion size, that they don't give a fuck and reckon they can just bust their way through. They arrive at Vashtor's system and engage the Archifane's fleet in a massive void battle, featuring once again a shitload of boarding actions and so on. In a bit of a plot twist, it turns out that Vashtor's world that the Dark Angels are now sieging is Caliban, their original homeworld. Vashtor managed to smash the fractured parts back into shape and turn it into a twisted shadow of its former self. It's at this point that Vashtor tells Abaddon about the final fragment he needs from the Dark Angels. It's the T'Challa engine, a warp device that the Dark Angels have been using since the Horus Heresy to help give them a massive edge in warp jumping. This is pretty cool, as the T'Challa engine has been in the lore for ages. If they get T'Challa, they can create their super weapon called the Dissidence engine. I'll try and explain more about it later, but it is a little bit confusing. The void battle intensifies as Abaddon and Vashtor commit their entire fleet against it. In response, Azrael leads the Dark Angels onto the surface of the world, hoping they can confront Vashtor and kill him. Once again, epic battle, with Vashtor getting sadistically creative with all the traps he had laid out for them. Well, if there's one thing Azrael likes, it's falling into traps, as even as his forces get past Vashtor's defenses, they arrive at a ritual site where World Eaters have just finalized the summoning of Angron. Oh no. Meanwhile, Vashtor wasn't even on the planet. He had snuck near the rock with the intention of claiming the fragment. He reaches out to the T'Challa engine, which in itself is sentient, and it tells it to come with him. The engine complies and teleports itself and Vashtor into the warp, away from the carnage. Thus, Vashtor achieved his ultimate victory and goal. So yeah, the Dark Angels are fucked. Vashtor has the fragment and Angron is in front of them. But like the Ride of the Rohirrim itself, the Blood Angels fleet arrives in system and they're like, "Oi, cousins, we got your Primarch, let's fuck shit up." It's not just the Blood Angels and the Lion, but also the largest force Imperium Nihilus has ever gathered. So now it's the Imperial Navy, the Blood Angels, and the Dark Angels taking on Abaddon's fleet in orbit, whilst Angron is going nuts on the surface. They came down due to the Lion directing them here, his Primarch senses being tingly and whatnot. As Azrael and his remaining warriors about to get finished by Angron and his World Eaters, the sky lights up with thousands of drop pods as Blood Angels land to the World Eaters' rear, surrounding the traitor forces. The Blood and Dark Angels charge Angron, probably the first people to do so in thousands of years, and clash in an epic storm of superhuman violence. Despite the Blood Angels' arrival though, they really have no chance against Angron. He's just too goddamn OP. Dante and his sanguinary guard take on Angron, and despite literally bitch slapping Angron in the face, Dante gets smacked down and is unconscious and broken. Angron prepares to strike the killing blow against the Lord of the Blood Angels, but then the Lion appears, using his warp teleport ability. Even Angron hesitates and he's like, holy fucking shit dude. But that moment passes as Angron charges the Lion and the two brothers duel. This distracts Angron long enough for the Blood Angels and Dark Angels to extract from the planet, which is destabilizing as Vashtor uses it as the conduit to put the key fragments together. The Redeemed Fallen are also here and help the Dark Angels as well, much to Azrael's distaste and bewilderment. Now you might be expecting the Lion to hold off Angron long enough for his forces to escape, then he withdraws. But no, this is the fucking Lion, not Guilliman. After one of the most epic fights ever, the Lion knocks Angron on his ass and then smashes his brains out over and over again with his shield, banishing him. That's right, the Lion fought Angron at his own game and won. The Loyalists escape the planet and get to safety, with Abaddon's fleet getting absolutely devastated. However, a decent chunk of it escape. Abaddon is laughing about his victory until he gets told the Lion is back. That makes him go real quiet. Vashtor turns Caliban into the key using the fragments. The reformed key becomes like a mobile webway thingo that allows Vashtor extreme ease of travel across the galaxy. Now he has the key, he needs to find the lock. If he manages to find it and open it, he will gain access to something created by the Old Ones themselves, likely fueling his ascension to godhood. So overall, a big win for Chaos. There are still a few Arks of Omens hanging out. Vashtor created his key and took T'Challa off the Dark Angels, and Angron can only be banished for a short period of time. In return, the Lion has returned and now leads a huge host of Dark Angels, including the Redeemed Fallen and the original chapters and successors, more or less how I predicted he would years ago. The story ends with the Inquisition becoming aware of all the events of the Arks of Omen, including the Lion's return. The Inquisition activates Turbo Mode, unlocking all their resources, assets, and agents that have been dormant for thousands of years, in order to prepare the Imperium for the upcoming apocalypse. Overall, a pretty fucking sweet plotline that advances the setting in a fun but not overly dramatic way, giving multiple factions meaningful wins. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where there's not only a boatload of Battlemace 40 million hentai, but also a bunch of live action nude cosplays. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more Omeni content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.